Boom, we are live. How are you?
Hey, Cam, I'm really good. Thanks for having me on your show.
No worries, no problem. So this is LeAnne, Lindsay. She is the editor of Tinsel and Time. And if you could, just tell me a little bit about yourself, where you came from, and how did you get into what you're doing now with the Tinsel and Time?
I know, it's really hard to break it down into something that's linear and quick, because I don't think anybody's story is when you think about it. It's like there's always all these little twists and turns, and like something informs something, and then next thing you know, you're looping back around and didn't know where you were going, and then it's just always like that. I mean, I've been editing, or I call myself the editor, but it's really just me. It's
right. Right.
But I've been doing Tinsel and Time for 10 years now, and it's had a lot. It's been a lot of fun. I mean, it's given me not just an outlet, but also like the social aspect of it, and I've just learned so much. It's something that I keep thinking I want to give up, and I can't. I'm like almost addicted to it.
So let me ask, are you from the Philadelphia area?
I am. Abington.
Abington.
So,
okay.
Out
I lived out in
suburbs.
Elkins Park.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Yeah. That's what I'm living at now. So, all right. So you're from Abington, the Philly area, the Philly suburbs, really.
Philly suburbs.
And did you grow up a total film lover?
No.
What was?
Well,
so what's the story behind that?
Not all together, but I've always been somebody who's loved story, like
Gotcha.
storytelling, and just need to always be entertained.
I understand.
So as a kid, I was an avid reader, just loved to read. And then, into my teenage years, on a Friday night, instead of having a date or going out with my friends, I just couldn't wait to get home and start a new book. Like I would remember sitting in the living room, and my mom wouldn't even make me come in to dinner on a Friday night. Like she'd be making like steakums and French fries, and she'd just like bring it to me because she knew I was just like so engrossed. And,
really interesting.
I'd start it and be done by Sunday. It was just like that was the thing. But I did love old movies. Like old
okay.
movies were a big thing in our house, and like my oldest sister used to make us. There used to be like the late show on ABC, like, and they would show like Hello Dolly was one of the ones that we really had. Like all the Barbra Streisand ones was definitely Funny Girl and all those, and Bye Bye Birdie. We love that. So it's like if she saw in the TV guide that it was going to be coming on, she'd make us stay up and watch them.
And isn't that a funny concept that we don't have that anymore? We don't need a TV guide anymore. We can watch anything at any time.
I know.
Which is fascinating to me.
And at one time, like, the TV guide was my Bible. Like, it would come in the mail, and I would circle everything
I can only
was
imagine.
Gonna watch during the week. But you didn't have that many channels, so it was easy to do.
See, I can't relate.
No, you really can't.
See, I can't relate. I'm a youngin'. I've been spoiled my whole life in terms of content and movies.
And being able to watch it wherever you want.
Exactly.
And we used to have to wait if a movie came out, and you had to wait maybe 2 years before you saw it on TV, maybe longer.
True.
And so we didn't go to the movies a lot. I mean, it's funny because my mom said she lived at the movies when she was a kid, but it was really cheap. And so by the time it's 5 of us in my family. So it wasn't something where, she just said, everybody go to the movies all day. Because by that time, it's like it costs money.
Right, of course.
So so it was the old movie, but, there's a lot of channel. It seemed like more channels had old movies back then. And so I really fell in love with Cary Grant and, Charade and... I love the movie Indiscreet so much with Ingrid Bergman. My goodness. Absolutely nothing happens in this movie except for that it's this, middle-aged couple that's having this glamorous romance. And as a child, I thought they were just the most sophisticated, wonderful people in the whole entire world. It was just, I loved it.
Wow.
Just, you know, used to, like, my first apartment was all old movie posters, and my absolute favorite movie is Rebecca.
Okay.
Hitchcock's Rebecca.
Yeah.
He
was a genius.
He was a genius.
Like, crazy man, but he was a genius.
That was, you know, I think that's a lot of people's entryway into film. And, you know, I love North by Northwest, which was a Cary Grant Hitchcock mix. The two of them worked together a lot.
Now, what I'm seeing is that film has really played a big role in your childhood.
So I suppose, like,
or I should say stories, good stories.
Good stories. That was definitely a part of the formative years, but also soap operas.
Really?
So the 90s was big on soap operas. And at one point I was watching 5. So, like, you would just
at once
tape them.
Oh,
well,
my goodness.
It was, you know, VCR heyday.
Right.
And so I was taping 5 different soap operas, and you'd come home and you watch them all. And it wasn't, though, I always felt like I was somebody who was studying the business of daytime television. Like,
I see.
It wasn't, I mean, of course I enjoyed them and I enjoyed the characters, but I wasn't one of those people who, like, maybe couldn't distinguish the fact that these weren't real people. I wanted to know about, like, especially the casting. I was obsessed with casting, and, like, why sometimes it worked that you could recast the character with a different actor, and sometimes it didn't work.
I ask myself the same question all the time. I see all these reboots of older franchises with movies. You know, there's all the Disney remakes, all the Marvel remakes, and you have new people playing the same characters, and sometimes it really does work, and sometimes it really does not work.
Doesn't.
And you know, going into the movies and casting, there's so many levels and so many things that could sway a decision for who plays what and why. And it's almost crazy how any of these movies really get produced, especially big studio ones with all the moving parts and all the different people involved.
Yeah, have you started watching the Movies Who Made Us on Netflix?
No, I haven't.
I just watched the first one yesterday. That was what is it? Baby in the corner. Dirty Dancing. Dirty Dancing, and the trajectory of how that ever came to be is nuts. Like, you really have to watch it. I don't even want to spoil it for you.
Good.
You would never believe that it had such a terrible beginning.
It's crazy how anything gets made. So going back.
I was very much into, like, you know, storylines and almost wanting to write for the soaps, but I was more interested in the casting aspect. So I kind of thought, I'm going to graduate from high school and I'm going to go to New York and I'm going to figure out how to cast for soaps. And it was a dream that I was afraid to tell my mother, but it was like what I thought I was going to do. But, you know, once you get closer and you have to start making your actual plans for what you're going to do when you graduate,
right,
it didn't seem feasible. I didn't know anybody in New York. I didn't know what I was going to be doing. So I went in another direction because I always had a love for food and cooking.
Okay.
And so there was a chef apprenticeship program, and so you could work in a restaurant under a chef part-time and then go to restaurant school management part-time.
Right. Now another big thing is you not only focus on reviews of movies and film and theater, but you also are more of a blogger for culture in Philadelphia. Is what I'm seeing.
Not intentionally.
And that's great. And that's great.
It became that way. Yeah, it's developed over the years. Tinsel and Time started out that I was going to go to a movie and review it, and then the same day go to a restaurant and review it and put them together. And that if the restaurant could tie in with the movie, then all the better.
Got it.
And it didn't that didn't.
No, that doesn't. It's hard.
It was hard. It was
hard.
hard. It was expensive.
I can only imagine.
It
Expensive.
Was,
you know.
It was like you found yourself not leaving yourself enough time to have dinner and a movie.
Okay.
And then you thought, oh, well, it doesn't have to be on the same day. I'll put them together later.
Right.
But it was just like almost from the beginning, they just were separate things.
Separate things.
There would be like food posts
very different.
and there'd be movie
Right.
posts. But trying to put them together, that was,
That's the
you
hardest.
know,
That's hard.
it was supposed to be a food and film blog.
So interesting. So you started off as a Food and Film blog, and then you realized it was really two separate things.
It was really two separate things. Yeah.
Going back to the film side of it.
Going back to the film side. Yeah.
What is the process of trying to review a film? Do you just simply just go to the movie theater, sit down, watch it, and write what you feel, or is there more of something else to it that people don't know?
Yeah, because I've talked to a couple of other reviewers and critics that I know, and they like to write notes while they're in the movie theater. And I think,
how do you do that?
That's just awful. I know one or two guys that have like a little light pen, and then others are good at writing in the dark. I find like that would ruin the whole experience for me.
Yeah, and you're not watching the actual, you're not experiencing it. You're thinking.
You're thinking
very
too
literally.
much.
You're thinking a lot instead of feeling what the actors and the directors and the producers are trying to convey to you.
Exactly. You have to be in it. For me, it's about the engagement. Like I love seeing movies in the movie theater because there's nothing else to distract you.
Right.
This is what you're
right.
doing.
Exactly.
You're sitting. I mean, I'm usually eating too, but but otherwise,
yes.
Your focus is complete. Like, you know, if you're home, there's always something else, or somebody's moving around, or you think, oh, I'm going to get up and make some tea, and you pause it.
You can pause it anytime.
Yeah. I mean, it's just
which is a luxury now. You know, you can kind of be in your underwear and watching any movie that's streaming at any time. So really, in that case, it's easier to review. Now, something like film festivals, what's the process? Like, if somebody was interested in going into reviewing, is there a process in order to be part of a press corps for film festivals?
For me, it wasn't easy. I've talked to some other people who seem to have gotten on the list a lot faster or quicker. Like my friend Thomasina, she runs Music Movies Thoughts.
Okay.
And when I talked about her, like, how did you get on, Allied's list? And it was just like a much more simple, streamlined
now, what
process.
Is Allied's list?
So Allied PR is the biggest PR firm in Philadelphia.
Gotcha.
They're Allied integrated marketing throughout the country, but they call it Allied Philly here.
Or Philly.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I knew about the list. Well, how did I find out about the list? I'm trying to remember now. But I had been in an internship at the Philadelphia Cinema Alliance.
Okay.
Which is defunct now. But once upon a time, the Philadelphia Film Society and the Philadelphia Cinema Alliance, they were the co-producers of the Philadelphia Film Festival.
I see.
And then they had a really nasty break. I think it was maybe around 2005, something like that. And somehow the Philadelphia Film Society was the one that was able to get the Philadelphia Film Festival.
I see. Okay.
But the Cinema Alliance had the Q-Fest, which was the Gay Film Festival. Mm-hmm. And it just so happened that I needed to do an internship for the end of a program that I was in. And I was terrible at the program. I was actually going for web design.
I'm sure you weren't terrible.
I was terrible. No, I was actually terrible. My teacher told me that I don't think logically and that this is never going to be for me. I was, doing coding and programming and it's just, it was terrible. I mean,
maybe it just wasn't the right situation for you to learn.
I know. He said I should try to practice Minesweeper. Remember the game Minesweeper? And he's like, 'cause you just need to learn how to, but that's not my that's not my brain, but it seemed it like the cooking school. It seemed practical. It seemed like a way to make money. But by the end of the program, I knew that wasn't what I was going to be doing, and so I thought, well, at least if I'm in the entertainment industry for my internship, then I can get something out of it. So I somebody at church actually, her son was running the Philadelphia Cinema Alliance, so she got me in there, and it was a lot of fun because the guys in the web, the IT department, they didn't want any parts of me. I mean, who's this?
Who is this?
Black
Who is this?
middle-aged woman coming in here to do this?
But you knew somebody, and you knew somebody. So someone from church.
Yeah. So my friend Jane from church, her son Eric ran the Cinema Alliance, or at least he was a co-partner.
Always use the connections that you have to start. If you
true.
don't know where to start, use the connections around you. And if you think you don't have anybody around you, keep digging, because you
never know, right?
You never know.
And I didn't know that about her. Right. I sat next to her in church, and then I was in Bible study, and you know how you just start in the beginning, you're just talking about what's going on in your life. And I said, well, I've got to get this, I have to do this internship in order to graduate, and I don't have a place to be. And I said, ideally I want, and then they said, so there was one guy who's like, well, Jane's son, like, you don't know that? And I was like, no. So
now I do.
Right.
And that's the thing.
That is what you need to do.
So really, like what we just said, you use the connections that you have, but even before that, you have to open your mouth, and you have to communicate what you want and why you want that.
And why, that's exactly true. You can't just suffer in silence.
Exactly. And I find a lot of artists do that. They don't know where to start, and they're very very scared to even open out and say, I want to be an actor, a producer, somebody who's maybe not going to make a lot of money being a lawyer or a doctor, but it's something that they really want to pursue.
They want to pursue.
And that's, I think, trumps anything else. Sorry to use that term, but to Trump, it's above anything else. If you think you're going to be more happy doing it, you need to pursue it.
Well, I would say I would give that advice, because I've so many times gone off into another direction, thinking that either I hadn't earned where I wanted to be, or just that you're thinking I need to make money. Right. And then you waste so much time. If I had, going back to the cooking thing, I was in that program, and it was actually funny because, well, not funny, but Cary Grant died. And I came into work that day, not physically crying or anything like that, but he knew I wasn't.
Upset. Yeah.
He knew I wasn't.
And he played
myself.
such a pivotal role in your childhood.
So the chef was like, what's going on with you? And I told him it was because Cary Grant died, and you could tell he was sort of like, what?
Why? We're here to cook. Nothing. Yeah.
You're a cook. Yeah. You're black. You're young. At that point, it was, who cares? Cary Grant was way before I was born.
That's not the point. None of that's the point, though.
And so we started talking about it, and I said to him, well, I'm going to be in the entertainment industry. Like, I'm either going to be a casting director, or I'm going to be a film editor, or something to that effect. And he said, then why are you here? And I couldn't answer. It just was like I was doing that while my brain was like, how do I get into the entertainment industry?
You were just kind of doing one thing, but thinking another.
Thinking all the time about the other.
And I see that a lot. I've even experienced this recently, where you're going about a certain path that's kind of based on judgment from, family or friends, and yet you really want to go into something else. In this case,
it's the expectations that other people have for you.
Right.
Or even for yourself, and a lot of fear.
And they could be well-intentioned.
Yeah.
They could have the best intentions, but if you don't scratch that itch, you're always going to kind of never be 100% into what you're doing.
Right. Yes. Right. And yeah. and you just lose.
And you just lose
so
time.
much time. I mean, if it's something you want to do, I would say just pursue it, because the time is going to go anyway.
Right.
And you may have to try to do two things at the same time. I mean, you know.
But you know where your focus is.
But at least, have your focus and don't talk yourself out of it.
Right.
Because your heart really does know what it wants.
Mm-hmm.
And
although as quiet as it might whisper to you what it wants, it will always want
makes
to pull
itself
you.
known.
It makes itself known in various ways.
It does. And you know, it's sad because I could be so much further along if I hadn't taken so many detours.
But maybe you needed to make some detours and to really understand for you.
No, I thought about that, and I don't see the benefit of the detours at all. I really don't. When I left that program, I should have gone straight into communications. I understand. And I remember my older sister, Lauren, saying, well, you don't seem to know what you want to do. Why don't you just quit school and get a job and figure it out?
Get a job.
And get a job and figure it out.
Those 3 words, get a job.
And then I remember my mom told me not to quit school. But you know how, like, sometimes you just listen to that one person that's, I don't know. She had a lot of influence over me. So, if I could have just kept going, you know, like saying, okay, we're great. I'm out of this. Let me go into that. But I didn't. And then eventually I made my way into theater, though, because you still want to be in story.
Right.
You need to be.
Going back to your childhood, you were always reading. You were loving old films, soap operas back in the 90s.
Yeah.
You were constantly going back to the story, to the communication of whatever story you were watching that time at that moment.
Right. Just wanting to, you know, just always thinking about plots and
character development.
Yes,
and
exactly.
That's
of always been important to me. And so I was able, like in high school, I would have liked to have been in the drama department, but I was one of those kids that I just had absolutely no confidence whatsoever.
You were very shy.
I don't even know if it was shy. It was more, I just felt like nothing was for me. Like it wasn't, like I wouldn't be allowed somehow. I don't know. I felt
wouldn't
like
be allowed.
I don't know.
I understand. So it's based in fear.
Yeah.
You were just fearful.
Very fearful.
Of the unknown.
Right. But somehow when I got out of, then I went to this like community theater group and wanted to volunteer my services. And I also remember that my mom was like, it was summertime, and she's like, well, take your younger sister. I have a sister that's 2 years younger than me, LeAnne. And she was like, take her there with you. And I remember thinking, I don't want to. This is my thing. I'm interested in theater. I want to do this. But it turned out really great because, first of all, we had like a good 5-year run there that was fantastic, and we had so much fun and made so many friends. But she's actually a costume designer now for theater.
Perfect.
She's also a instructor at the University of Arts, and she teaches theater and costume design. So it actually all did come full circle for her. And then it also allowed me to get a job in theater in Philadelphia. Gotcha. So that was a big foundation as well for the movie stuff.
Pivotal for you, I would say.
Yeah. So I worked at the American Music Theater Festival for a number of years. I worked my way up to the assistant to the artistic director and casting director.
Yes.
So that actually did happen.
Yes.
It just didn't happen the way I thought it was going to be. I got to work with Hal Prince for Parade. They were doing like a workshop of the show Parade that was on Broadway. But at first they workshopped it at American Music Theater Festival.
Gotcha.
And I was able to, I had met a lot of Philly actors at the time and was able to bring those in to audition for him. And then I was the cabaret hostess, and I would go to New York and I would do, get to see cabaret shows and then make my opinions. And then I was also the literary manager, so that if anybody sent just a unsolicited script and musical to the American Music Theater Festival, I was the gatekeeper, and I read all the scripts.
Interesting.
And listened to the music and made the notes. And
what a great... You're kind of like the first line of defense in a way. And so you were able to see the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, but you know what? Again, I kind of talked myself down and said, I think what had happened was, in the beginning it was really good, but then we started hiring a lot of people that came in with degrees in theater, communication, marketing, things like that.
Right.
And it made me doubt my own confidence in what I had. I was learning on the job.
Right.
And they,
which I find to be the best way to learn, by the way.
I do too.
Yes.
And I think there should be more internships and that kind of a college way
or even
of
more
doing
volunteering spots or ways in which kids can kind of shadow or just any kind of ways. So that they because I think that especially when people are young, they need to taste everything as much as possible.
That's so true. And it does. I mean, there's that real world, practical, hands-on. That's just, there's nothing like it.
And you can't learn as well from a textbook.
No. When you're there and it's opening night, it's nothing better. It was really great. But I don't know. I was doing a lot. I was also like the assistant to the director for the outreach program. It's called the Rainbow Company. And so it was like one of these jobs that you wear like about 5 different hats. And I got a little burnt out. And I also just started, I don't know why, because nobody ever had any problem with my work, with what I was doing. But I just started thinking, I didn't earn this. I didn't go to school. Why do I have...
And I think everybody kind of goes through that once they reach a certain level and be like, oh, I don't deserve this. I'm not good enough. Oh, that person's so much this and that and the third thing. And I don't even have a degree. I see that all the time, especially with actors. There's a lot of actors, especially with a lot of performers.
To go to Juilliard or something, right?
Or maybe they see somebody walk through the door and be like, oh, this person, I'm never going to be that good. Or they have too many rejections at an audition, and it starts to weigh on them, and it's kind of a very, acting is a very weird profession in that you kind of have to balance yourself where you're looking over the edge of a cliff with this void of what is this going to be, and then also trying to ground yourself into, but this is so much better than an office job.
Yeah.
You're always kind of pulling yourself in two different directions.
But I think actors need a lot of validation.
Yes.
And
yes.
I really feel like what I've learned is to not look for validation in what you want to do. It's more, it does have to be where you just have the confidence to say, I belong here.
Yes.
This is what I want to do. Yes. Even if I'm learning as I go, I belong here. Yes. And if you believe it, you can convince other people.
Exactly.
But if you're waiting for somebody to say it's okay,
right,
it takes a long time. I mean, maybe that will happen, but again, you lose time.
So that's good. That's great. So I have a couple of more questions. You are going to Sundance Film Festival.
I am.
This coming go around.
First time, yes.
Yes. Talking about jumping into the void.
Yes. I did get a press pass.
Good.
And
tell me about that and tell me how you got that.
Okay. Well, I think that I would have been able to get one even.
Is there just an application you just
Yeah, there's an application. And I think with 10 years of doing film reviews and writing about film and interviewing people and all of that, I would have earned a press pass anyway. But it was nice to lead with the fact that now I'm a member of the Philadelphia Film Critic Circle.
Yes.
So
that's nice.
Yeah. So this May I was inducted into their group, and so now Philadelphia has a film association like most large cities do.
Right.
And it's a certain prestigious level that you kind of get to as a critic, and it feels good. And
That's
then
good.
you get all the
pat on the back.
a little pat on the back, and all the screeners come in for a vote, and so you get like books, like you get like the screenplays for certain ones, and like I got this beautiful book from Us. And it has like it's all glossy of photos from the shoot, and just it's a really like a collector's thing. Like I love it.
Really?
That's so it's like you get stuff like that, and so that's pretty fun. And so at least
so they're bribing you basically.
Kind of a little bit, but I mean, it seems to be fair enough because everybody gets to send whatever they want. Right. So it's kind of cool.
Now going back to Sundance, what are you going to see?
So I don't know yet. I know that they released their list of films, and I actually haven't had a chance to even look at it yet. We're supposed to get an email where
because there's hundreds. There's so many.
There's so many, and I read like one article and a little bit about what's coming out, but I haven't actually even had a chance to study it yet.
Wow.
Because I've been working on the vote for the critics for the 2019 stuff. Okay. So I don't even know what's ahead for 2020, for the most part. But and then there is a stipend that I also applied for because they want there to be more diversity for the, as far as press
I understand.
is concerned. Yeah. So you can apply for a stipend to pay for your flight and accommodations.
That's wonderful.
And fingers crossed, I get that.
Yeah.
But if not,
because it's expensive to go there.
It's very expensive.
It's very expensive.
It is.
A lot of people view Sundance as this kind of indie film festival with only a few people that show up. That's what it was back when it was first founded, but now it is mainstream Hollywood.
It is.
It is not something to just think of a small time thing. If you're having something in Sundance Film Festival,
you've made it.
You've made it.
You've
to a
already
level.
gotten right because somebody's going to buy it. That's
somebody
how
will.
You're going to get distribution.
Somebody will.
If
you reach that,
if you've reached
kind
that
of a
level,
benchmark.
yes,
very
level. Much so. And so we're going to be able to do some red carpet stuff, which is why I bought a new camera, and there'll be press conferences, and so it'll be a little more fun than just going on your own.
Right.
And I just feel like it's a good culmination because this is, like I said, my 10th year for Tinsel and Time.
Right.
And I wanted to go in 2010 when I started, and it's just taken me this long to just...
But you're here now,
I'm here
and
now.
You're going to Sundance,
and
which
going
is
to Sundance.
wonderful.
Yeah.
So
I'm looking forward to that.
You brushed up on something that I actually want to talk about in terms of diversity.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking about diversity, not just within characters and plot within movies, but even in what is shown in the media, what would you want to see different?
Well, I'm already upset about the Golden Globe snubs, like a lot of people are.
And
that was ridiculous.
People don't know.
Okay, so
just a little bit about
they did not nominate any female directors.
Right.
And there are good female directors out this year. So it wouldn't be like you'd have to turn over rocks to find them. Honey Boy, Amel, Harrell. I mean, I love that film, first of all. I
wasn't able to see it. I just know about the Shia LaBeouf
I know.
story.
He's really good in it.
Yeah.
And Noah Jupe. And it's beautiful. It's beautifully told.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Queen and Slim, Melina Matasuka, I think you pronounce her last name.
Okay.
Another very interesting film, really well done, and beautifully shot, especially the way they because both leads have really darker skin, and they've found just beautiful ways to show them throughout the film, and I another one that was just should have gotten more nominations, and definitely for the director. And then, of course, Greta Gerwig. I mean, she's been there before with Lady Bird, but Little Women, the remake is worthwhile nominating her for that. There was Lone Scarafina, I think you pronounce her last name, and she did Hustlers. And Hustlers is not a throwaway movie. Anybody who hasn't seen it actually has a lot of meat.
There.
It's definitely substantive. And so there was plenty of women to nominate this year, and we'll have to see what happens.
And
with
we're not
the
just
Oscars.
talking about women. I mean, we're also talking about. I'm sorry. No. We're not just talking about winning. We're talking about just getting nominated to win, just to
be in
put them in the
room,
put them in the game, put them in the room, allow them to say, you deserve with your work to be among these other individuals to win a prize.
Yes, and when you hear that there's only been 5. And only Barbara Streisand's won. It's just like, what? All this time?
Yeah.
All this time? That's just nuts.
Yeah. But I think, the people have spoken, and, the industry does have to respond to this now.
They should.
Well, I think they have to at this point, because there's enough pressure on them to say, hey, guys, there's way more that we need to be looking at that is viable for not just the brand of the Golden Globes, but everything in the entertainment industry.
In the entertainment
especially
industry.
after the Me Too movement and the Harvey Weinstein, all that,
Right. And every time you think you're moving, 2 steps forward, then it's like, wait.
But you're reminded of all these extra things.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with the Oscars. I think that the Hollywood Foreign Press doesn't maybe feel as much pressure for diversity, maybe because they are diverse. I don't know, but I think that like with the Oscars after a couple of years ago with the whole Oscars so white controversy, they are more concerned. You know what I mean? They never want to have that kind of reputation again. So we'll
they don't
see
want to have that issue again. The PR nightmare for them.
Yeah.
So that's what you would like to see different. That's what you have criticism for. What do you like seeing now? What is something you like?
I love everything. That's sometimes I feel like I might be too easy on movies because if I'm engaged and I feel like the team, the directors, everybody, just that they set out to do something and I feel like they accomplished it, then I see their vision. Like you always can have your own opinion on how a movie, like the tropes and the storytelling, decisions. And you might think, I don't know if I would have done it that way.
Right.
But when I feel like they've hit their marks, though, then I want to celebrate that. And that's how I normally like to write. Although I have to say, I just wrote my review for Cats today, and I couldn't find any of that. A lot of people
hate Cats. I saw a review that was done. I forget exactly who it was, and he said, I didn't like Cats from the beginning, so here is the review from my father-in-law because I knew that I was going to be very biased. And it literally starts with, I was told I was going to go see Cats, and I literally thought I was actually going to see Cats, not the movie. It was just this funny review, and it just shows.
There's been like a lot of funny reviews.
It just goes to show how far someone will go to say, hey, this movie is maybe something you shouldn't see.
But on the other hand, I think it may do better because it's getting so panned.
It's kind of like those cult classics. I think
people are going to be like, well, I got to see how terrible this is.
What? There's a movie I'm blanking on that is so bad that people can't help but watch it over and over again. There's a few.
There's a few, but The Room, are you
The
talking
Room,
about?
yes, The Room. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah. Remember James Franco?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
was that 2
Yes,
years
yes,
ago?
yes,
Did the making of The Room.
Yes.
And yes. And
Which
so then
was
it becomes
hilarious.
a cult classic.
Cult.
Cats
I don't
could
think Cats
get-
are
it
gonna be
could
there.
Possibly get to that point.
I think that Cats is just kind of creepy looking because of all the CGI superimposed onto
Onto
known
the faces.
faces.
You know
Celebrities.
what? I really could deal with that part of it more than I just had no idea it was about like singing for reincarnation.
Right. Now, I've actually seen the Broadway musical of Cats.
Okay.
And I've also been auditioned to be a part of the national tour of Cats, and it is very different than the movie.
Is it? The
It's
plot
it's
is different?
It's a similar plot, but especially the dancing, especially some of the numbers are very different.
Well, there's a lot of ballet in it.
There's a lot of ballet, and there's a lot of ballet in the musical.
Okay.
But they just kind of tried to swing it so that it was more accessible to more people, and I think that's why it failed.
I do wish that I had seen the Broadway version because to compare them, I
think it was very. In
because
comparison to the movie,
you're
it's
just
very
trying
good.
to figure out why people would have flocked to it for,
Right.
25,
Right.
30 years. The only thing that I can imagine is that it would have been the fascination of the actors really taking on the whole feline
Yes.
body movements
Yes.
and really
and seeing that
becoming
live
the cat.
is something.
But they don't do that in the movie.
They don't.
They talk about cat school, like Taylor Swift talks all about how she loved cat school, but they don't act like cats.
They don't.
Very, very, very seldom.
And I think it's that creepy notion that you're conveying a cat with a known celebrity, and it's there's just something that doesn't look right
so maybe,
about
yeah,
it.
like you wouldn't know the actors if you're seeing the staged version, and that might help.
Yeah, because the amount of costuming and makeup involved in the Broadway version, you can't tell who's who on the street.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
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 So that would help, I think.
Possibly,
Possibly.
but
Great. No, we got off track. So what do I like? So I like things. I really like Noah Baumbach. He's one of my favorite directors because I like things about relationships. And I'm from loving old movies. I like dialogue heavy movies. And I like when there's just a quirkiness to things where it's not so overboard that you're like, what? But just enough to be like, that's I wouldn't have thought of that.
Right.
You know, it's like a little unexpected moment. So The Marriage Story is very good. And
which I just started watching.
Oh, really?
And I love it all. I mean, I because people in life are so busy, like myself, I only have like an hour to watch. So I only watch like a first part of it, and then I go and I watch another part of it, and I have to
in
do
increments.
it in chunks.
Well, you're going to have to do The Irishman in increments.
The Irish, that's 3.5 hours, and I just that's just a lot.
But I did see that in the theater, and I was thankful that as many screeners as I was sent, and as much fun as that is, and my sister's been able to watch them. I am glad that I saw most everything in the theater.
Good.
There's a couple things left. Like
it's
I want to
different.
see Pain and Glory. I haven't seen.
Okay, I haven't seen that either.
And I'm still debating about 1917. I've had a couple different press screenings for it, and I just don't really like war movies. I never saw Dunkirk. I don't
Understandable.
see. I don't see a lot. I mean, I've never seen Glory. I've never seen what's the one with Tom Hanks? What's it?
Saving Private Ryan.
Saving Private Ryan. Like those types of movies, I just don't gravitate to at all.
Which is just your personal preference.
Yeah.
It's
just one of those.
There's going to be somebody else who's going to watch that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Plenty of people.
Plenty.
And some war stuff you just can't avoid. I mean, there's just going to be a part of a movie that if it's a period movie, you're usually going to find a little bit of war in there somewhere.
Right. Well,
But
there's
I
conflict in everything.
Yeah, but I mean, like actually set where the war
Taking
informed
place.
some part of the
Yeah,
story. Yeah,
of course.
But I don't gravitate towards anything that's like really battle. Scenes
I understand.
and things like that. And then of course I'm big on Avengers. I mean, Marvel. I love it. I just adore it. I mean, I don't have encyclopedic knowledge about it the way some people do.
Me neither. But
and that was a challenge this summer because the Philadelphia Film Office had asked the Film Critic Circle if they would do because there was a Marvel exhibit at the Franklin Institute this summer. And so they said, come and talk Marvel, like just, top to bottom, 10 years, you know what I mean, of movies, and come and talk about it and be experts. And it scared the bejesus out of me. I don't know it like that, not to be able to bone up and,
talk about anything.
Because you don't know what level of fan is in the audience.
Right.
So the questions they could have asked was like going to be nuts.
They could have gone deep and you had no idea.
Yeah. And I pretty much drove my fellow critics crazy saying, how is this going to work? What are we going to do?
Right.
Because only one of them was so that they would know a lot.
Right.
The rest of us, we enjoy the movies. We write about the movies. I'm a big fan. I'll wear the T-shirt, but I don't know it to the extent of,
You don't know all the backstory.
Right. All the keep all that in your
details.
head. You know what I mean?
Right.
You'd have to watch each movie like 3 times to really, So I finally got my talking points down and felt confident enough that I could go do this, and and then they canceled it.
Oh,
they didn't sell enough tickets after all that because they probably were like, those people don't know.
They don't know what they're doing.
Marvel.
That's too funny. That's too funny.
But I'm interested to see what the phase 4 is going to be like.
Okay.
I'm going to have to get Disney Plus so that I can keep up with all the Marvel shows that are going to come out, because they are going to inform the movies, and I do like to be up to date.
And the marketing that Disney has with all their platforms, I don't want to call it a monopoly, but they really have a stronghold on the nostalgia of viewers.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
They have a huge amount of brand loyalty.
They do.
Which is crazy.
Even, more than the DC comics.
Right, exactly.
And so I see all the DC comics, but I'm definitely a Marvel person.
I got you.
And what else? I always gravitate towards, this time of year, I see all the things that you think are going to be nominated. And so, got to see the 2 Popes in the theater and all. Netflix is amazing that so many of their movies are, on that nomination track, so that the audience. And I wonder if that's going to help with the audience watching the Oscars and the Golden Globes. Like, is that going to be, because you can see it. You don't have to go to the theater.
Right.
And so, because I feel like people want to be involved when you watch the award shows, and to be involved, you have to kind of be rooting for something.
Although I think that there's a big thing, you have to look at the convenience of being able to watch it on anything, even on your phone, on your laptop, on your TV. Being able to be flexible of where you watch something is going to have more eyes on the product.
So will that change the viewership?
I think it might change the viewership.
I hope so.
Like, I think that's part of the reason why I haven't started watching The Irishman, is because I know going into it, this is going to be a 3.5 hour long thing. I don't have 3.5 hours to just sit down and watch this. I have a hard time even watching a simple episode of anything fully. Now, were you always like that, or do you just feel like your life is that busy right now, or is it more the way you take things in? Combination.
Yeah.
Combination. I believe that I'm just thinking about people in general, but I know a lot of people who watch Netflix on their phone with headphones.
With headphones.
And, you know, that's only a very small screen. There's all sorts of distractions around you. May not be the best screen to be watching something that was shot with $1 million cameras. You know, I think something's going to be lost if you watch that, which I think Scorsese has criticized. Yeah. But you have to look at the viewer.
You do.
They're just going to watch it on what they can watch it on.
But I think, I mean, you know, there's a lot of critics who are really great about being able to be specific about production design and cinematography and talk about it in a way that matters. But I think for whether you're a critic or just a moviegoer, you're interested in story, like we're saying.
Yes.
You're interested in characters.
Right.
And so that will translate no matter what. You're either going to be interested in where these people are going and what's being told here,
right,
or you're not. Now, I mean, I love the experience of being in the movies. Like I said, you know, of course you're going to take more in. But when I'm writing about film, I don't typically include a lot about the cinematography. You know, and if it would have to be an extraordinary production design that you need to actually expound on.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Oh, I know.
I'd probably be more apt to talk about the costumes, but that's
right.
Yeah, something that's more interesting to me, especially with my sister's profession. So I don't know. I want people to see movies, and I want people to watch the award shows because I think they're fun, and even if everybody's not being nominated or given their due,
right,
I still enjoy
you still enjoy the
process.
The process.
Yeah. I definitely do.
Good. Now I do have one last big question that I try to ask everybody. And what is one piece of advice or a couple nuggets of advice that you would give to other creatives in the entertainment industry?
Well, like I said, believe in yourself and stay on track. And then the money thing.
The money thing. What about the money thing? What about the money thing?
You know, it's as I sit here, there are days where I'm just very resentful of the fact that I don't make any money doing this. It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of my time. I've added more to Tinsel and Time than the movie part of it, and so that's my own fault. That it just seems like there's never a time that I'm not either writing, researching, posting, doing the social media or whatever.
It's a lot of work.
There's never any downtime.
It's a lot of work.
And for years, I really did try to figure out, what do you do? How do you get sponsors? How do you make this lucrative in any way, shape, or form? And then I was so obsessed with it that, I was getting a little bitter, and I felt like it was taking away from the joy. And I think that when you don't have joy for something, then you get stagnant, and then the opportunities aren't coming in.
Yes.
And so
I agree with that completely.
I feel like there were times maybe through 2012 to 2015 that I was maybe even going backwards in some ways, just because I was so obsessed with how do you make money. And
you were following the money, not what you were there to do in the first place.
Right. So it's not that money's not important, but if you go into something that's arts related and you're thinking about how do I make money, it's going to throw you off track.
Yes.
It really,
absolutely,
really is. And I don't have the answers for what you do. I do believe in the laws of attraction, but they're not that easy to manipulate.
No, they're not.
And,
if it was easy, everybody
would just be able to do it, right? But, you're supposed to have a mindset of, I feel wealthy and I believe that, I'm in the right place, doing the right thing. And so, you put money out. I'm putting money out to go to Sundance.
Right.
I'm putting money out. I just bought
Right.
this new camera.
Right.
I'm constantly, I have to have editing equipment that, you're just always putting money out, and you think, well, it's fine because I'm attracting it back in the fact that I feel like this is my, I don't know, not soul's purpose. That might be a little bit strong, but
that you deserve it.
But yeah,
that you deserve.
And then what happens is you still have a credit card bill.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
That's like I have not seen it come full circle.
Yes.
In a decade.
And some people it might take 3 decades. Other people it might take a year. Other people, you know, and it doesn't matter how long it takes. That's not the point. You know, a lot of people think life is short, but if you think about it, after 10 years, there's still many parts of you that still feels like that little girl who's been watching that Cary Grant, movies, you know, as a kid. So the, you know, part of you does not, you know, go away. You still have those same feelings as you go through, as long as you keep rekindling that flame.
Rekindling. And that's what happened because this summer I had my site redesigned. So I got an actual web designer, and it's completely revamped because for all that time I was on the free blogger platform, believe it or not. So now it's actually a website.
Yes,
and
which
it's not
is good.
a blog, it's a website. And that rekindled a lot of things.
You're able to kind of reassess, like how you approach, how you look to others when they look you up.
Exactly.
And I'm the same way because I recently got a Squarespace website.
Okay.
To put, you know, all of my media, all of my headshot resumes, contact agent info, you know, so because you want to be able to have people go to some sort of landing page in order to find all of your stuff.
You need that because there was a point where I thought, well, I'm doing so much on social media that do I need to actually
have... But you need to.
But you do.
You need to.
You need to, and you need a place to archive things as well. And just like you say, when you're actually presenting yourself.
Yes.
The profile needs to look a certain way. Right. So I was, more money put out that hasn't come back yet. But those things have been important, and I enjoy getting a chance to meet people. I just got to interview the 2 directors, Troy Quinn and Nick Bruno, it's called Spies in Disguise. It's an animated movie, Blue Sky Studios. And so I just had a really great interview with them, and I've gotten to interview Ava DuVernay twice, and I've interviewed Joel Egerton and Lucas Hedges' father, Peter Hedges.
Okay.
And who else? Tyler Perry.
Really?
Yeah.
Very nice.
I've gotten to interview many people, get to come through Philly, and I get to be there on the front lines. And
that's great.
So that doesn't get old.
Right.
Even though you may not make money doing it, it's really great to hear their stories and to be able to, and I do like promoting films. I like promoting the film industry and films.
Yeah.
And, I guess my dream would be, fashion bloggers a designer will often pick them to be their ambassador.
Right.
And then they can make money that way because they are representing that brand.
Right.
And I think, well, why can't that work in the film world? Like there's these
I'm sure it can.
Smaller studios like A24 or Neon or that type of thing where if I only wrote about their films during the year, like they'll put out about 6 or 7 films during a year. And then I was like the place that, when they had a new still or, okay, now this person's on board. And
so
then
I
just
the ambassador for the Philadelphia
and I just keep
market.
reporting on it. And sometimes I get to be on set and take pictures and, kind of report what's happening. You don't give anything away that they don't want to give away, but but you would have,
and they'll make sure you don't do that.
And those kind of things would be set in place. And then you get to go to the red carpet. And so that would be ideal. because
Yeah.
you would have a focus, and I would still be in the industry so that I could probably see anything that I want, but at the same time, as far as like my time is concerned, it would be more linear, and I could focus and not be just writing all
and
the
not
time.
just have to kind of be like shotgun everywhere.
Yes.
In terms of what
and
you're
reviewing. I do every type of film. You know, the indiest indie to the animation,
anything.
And anything in between.
Everything.
Everything. And I enjoy everything. But I don't honestly feel like writing about everything.
You would like a focus.
I think it would be better.
Because there's so there's so much content, as you just said. Yeah, that would be a great thing. So the two things are the money thing. Don't get obsessed about how you're going to make money and pay your bills.
Right.
And the other one?
And the other one was tell yourself you belong in the room.
You belong in the room. Well, LeAnne, Lindsay, thank you so much for being a part of the show.
Thank you. This was a lot of fun.
I hope your dreams come true and you're able to be the voice of Philadelphia when it comes to food and film.
Thank you very much. Yes, there's always room to grow, and I guess that's a great thing.
Yes. And use the contacts that you have to start.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good one. Bye-bye.